This is Clarence McKee, and today's the first day of December 2014. Clarence owns and operates McKee Coins in Oskaloosa, and he's going to talk to us today a little bit about the coin shops that used to be in Des Moines back when he was young, when he started the business. What year did you first go into business and start dealing with the guys in Des Moines?
Oh, around 1956.
Yeah. What can you tell me about it?
Well, I dealt with Art Kagan and his brother.
Well, what was Art's brother's name?
Oh, I don't remember now. It was Don Kagan or what it was, but it wasn't Don. But
Don was his son.
that's his son. But anyway, he had a brother that was in the business. I never dealt much with him. I always dealt with Art around 1956. And I constantly was sold him stuff over the years up until about 1960, I believe it was, 1956, when Stan Osceola took over. He was in the shop business. And after he phased out, why, Ben Marlene bought that business and took it over after him.
Yeah. And what kind of business you used to do with Art and them?
Oh, I used to just sell them a lot of different coins whenever I needed money. Yeah.
Now, where'd you come up with the coins that you sold them?
Coins, I either got them out of the bank or I bought them from Roy Springer.
Roy Springer, he was a man that lived here in Oskaloosa?
Yeah, he lived on North Market. He worked in the Mahaska Bank on the west side. Yeah.
He had quite a coin collection?
He's constantly buying stuff all the time and got a lot of stuff through the bank.
Mm-hmm. And you did quite a bit of business with Stan Osceola also?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he got to be. I used to sell him 38 D&S nickels and 39 D&S nickels, and then I sold him stuff like Roosevelt dimes when they come into power. You know, there were certain years he's looking for. Then I got into buying rolls of pennies off him from 59 up to about 62 or 3. But I didn't have, and then I went up there to pick up, I picked up tubes from him. I still have a lot of pennies from 59 to 62. Like 90 rolls of each. I used to have 100. I used to have a bag collection of them. Yeah.
Then after Stan, Ben Marlene took over?
Mars took over, yeah.
You did business with Ben quite a bit?
Oh, yeah. Bought a lot of stuff off him over the year. Yeah, whenever I need some store stock. Half dimes, buy 100 at a time, 50 or 100. 3-cent nickels and stuff like that. Indian head pennies, like the 1859 64. He used to have rolls of that stuff.
Now, I know there's been several good collections in this area that you've purchased. What was one of the highlights of any of the collections that you purchased in this area?
That's hard to say.
Wasn't there a judge from Ottumwa that you did a lot of business
Dillard.
with?
I bought that in 1975. That was $25,500 collection.
Yeah. Was there anything good in it?
It's just a lot of store stock. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
1976, I started from 76 to 78. Ernest Wilson, the south end of Des Moines. I spent about $80,000 buying over 2 years. Bought an awful lot of stuff from him.
80,000.
Yeah. Then there was a guy just east of the South Ridge Mall that I spent $5,000 or $6,000 buying all his stock.
Now, at one time you had a complete set of 3-cent nickels.
Yeah.
Who'd you buy that from?
They come from Ernest.
From
3-cent
Ernest
nickels.
Wilson.
A fairly decent set of that, of the 3-cent silvers too. Then I had a complete set of the Liberties, the half dimes from the first one up to the 73s, to the last year of them.
You had a complete set of the half dimes?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was there a few rare dates you were missing?
There was some. No, it was everything in there.
Everything was in it.
Everything, they had everything by date from the first one up. The first ones weren't in very good shape. They were kind of bent and twisted, but they brought way over $100 a piece.
Mm-hmm.
And the first ones of them.
Now, you used to have a little box that had some other neat stuff in it. Where'd some of that stuff come from?
Oh, just different places. Yeah, just different places.
What other collections did you buy that were kind of
Well,
important
I
to
bought
you?
one out of Cedar Rapids, and it seemed like it was over $18,000 I bought up there. A lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I dealt a lot of business with him. Joe Marshek too. Used to do a lot of business with him.
What other dealers did you know here in Iowa that were?
Oh, Lowell Owens from Liddell, Iowa. Yeah, he was a dealer. Mm-hmm.
And other dealers?
Doc Tilton. Yeah, Doc Tilton. Why?
Where was he from?
He's from Dubuque.
From
He was a
Dubuque.
big silver buyer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know one time you sold Doc some silver dollars. What was the story on that? Or you bought some silver dollars from him? You bought a bag of silver dollars from Doc Tilton, didn't you?
Oh, I don't remember about that.
I know one time you bought a bag of silver dollars down to Ottumwa, and they were bragging about how they'd made a good profit off you on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But
Do you remember buying a bag of silver dollars and they were bragging about making 15 cents a piece on them or something?
oh, I don't remember about that. I know at New London, Iowa, I bought a quarter of a bag, about 250, 1896s. Paid about $4.40 for them.
Yeah.
Then one time at the Central States Show, early years, I bought 300 or 400. I bought a whole grocery box full of silver dollars, and they went to Jimmy Carter. And I got between $3 and $4 a piece for them. Took about a month or two before I got my money.
Yeah.
And then Russell's, Iowa, that's just east of Des Moines, back this way. I bought 500, bought a half a bag, and that's the ones I kind of got married to. I paid $25 for them, and we sold, I don't know, a couple hundred or so of them to Burl Armstrong for about $16.50 that I lost money on. And you know, at that time, we was only paying $15 for them, and you said it was on a Sunday night when he called me up. And a month or two later, I still had about 200. I think I sold him 300 of them. But I had 200, and the guy made a phone call and called me. He said, I'm paying $13.50. And I wound up selling the rest of that bag. That bag's still empty today. And I think I got about 7,500, lost about 5,000. But I've taken the money and worked with it all through the years, so it made me money.
Now, one time you bought a few coins of Art Staten. What can you tell me about that deal?
Oh, Art Staten, the best one I ever bought from him was in 1978. In 1978, well, I got a phone call, and he lived over the Point here, and he wanted to know if I was buying any gold. And I went over there, and at that time, why, he went into the bedroom and he pulled out a bag of gold. It represented 1,000 face, just assortments of 2.5s, 5s, 10s, and 20s, including a few $3 gold pieces. There was a few shiny of the $3 gold pieces, and the others are average, but it represented 1,000. I paid him $17,500 for that. And then he asked me, he says, you wouldn't buy another bag, would you? And he pulled another bag out. I spent about $35,000 buying that. And then he had some fractional gold, and I paid $200 or $300 for that stuff. Everything from Oregon, Alaska, Louisiana, just different ones of the fractional gold. And everything kind of went over the years. Yeah.
Any other big gold collections that you might have bought?
Well, I bought one in Fairfield down there. At that time, I think I paid $275, and I bought a box, and they ranged from 1850 up to 1926 or 27, and I wound up with the 1850 in AU. and I wound up with a 13S and a 9/8 20 and a 22S, and they all brought good money during the 80s, for about $1,000. The only one I didn't get big money out was around 1988 when I sold that 1850. I was at the show in Chicago, and it brought $650 and went to Indiana at that time. Today it's worth about $2,000 if you can find one in nice condition.
Now, you used to do business with a man by the name of Ridge Wright here in Oskaloosa.
Yeah.
You sell him a lot of stuff?
I sold him some stuff, yeah. Yeah, I met him about 1957 through Larry Mitchell from somewhere around 1957, somewhere along in there, up to about 1960. I think it was around I'd have to think about it. 1960, up to 1968. And then we kind of had a disagreement. He went his way and I went my way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Any other big collections you can remember buying? I know one time you had a complete set of Standing Liberty quarters.
Yeah, that came from Ernest.
That came from Ernest Wilson in Des Moines.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was amongst all the stuff I bought over 2 years' time. Mm-hmm.
Now, there was
Then
another.
I had a set of quarters from 32, 64, and 2 plaques. I still got a nickel set, Jefferson nickel set from one safe at home yet. It's uncirculated, they come from that. Had a penny set from 1909 through 40, all AU or better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One time you bought a collection of coins that had some ancient coins in it that were kind of attractive, some larger tailors and so forth. What can you tell me about that?
That was quite a story on that. It came out of Sigourney. While I was gone, you wound up with the copper stuff. But anyway, a family over at Sigourney inherited a collection that came from Kansas City, and they kept out whatever there was of American coins. But anyway, they came to my day one day, and they said they had some foreign coins, and I can't remember, 6 or 8 pieces. But when they laid down on the table, they were all silver dollar size or larger. And I looked down at them, and the fur on the back of my neck stood straight up. I told them, I says, foreign coins usually isn't worth much. Well, they said that. And they've been all the way to Des Moines. It was only offered like $15 a piece for them, 15 or 20. I said, these pieces are worth $50, maybe as much as $200 a piece. They were back in the 14th, 15th, 1600. They was quite rare. Well, they said they had 900 pieces altogether in the chest. They wound up bringing the rest of that chest over a few weeks later, and I bought everything for about $900 a piece. A lot of small stuff in it, but there was about 6 or 8 silver ancients in it that was in there. And anyway, kind of played around it for a while, but I went to shows and I sold 6 or 7. Oh, among that stuff, there was a V-nickel that might have been a proof. But in that, I found a lousy dime, 1796, that was about good on the back, maybe close to good on the front, very good maybe. But anyway, I priced that thing at about $25. I got a book out and looked it up, and I took the price off that. And in 1981, I was in Albuquerque, New Mexico out there, and the dealer seen that, and he said, what do you want? Well, I said, what do you give me? I didn't have a number on it. It was quite rare. He said, I'll pay you $1,700 for it. And a few years later, that thing wasn't worth $900 because it was about good on the back, very good on the front, and it was called a problem coin. And at that time, that coin paid for a trip. That was the time when we went out there to Albuquerque, New Mexico, to a show out there. Everett and Rachel and them went with us, and Gail and us.
Now,
Anyway,
what was the,
before that,
yeah.
I was in Cedar Rapids. You was with me, and I looked at a person brought me over in '85 Carson City, and that's a little story there. And the guy wanted $250, and I didn't like the scratch or two. He walked away, and you turned around and said to me, he said, "Go get that coin and get it back over here." And I bought that for $250. I took that out there to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and it didn't have any numbers on it. But anyway, up the aisle from me was Christopher's shop. And Christopher came down to see it. He wanted to know what I wanted. And I said, "Well, I'm not just sure." Anyway, he says, "Well, let me take it back up to my table." And I was listening closely. And the person at his table says, "You know, I'd see if you can't buy that for $500 or $550. No, we only paid $250. But anyway, he came down and he said, "What do you feel you want?" Well, I said, "I'd like to have $550. And I sold it to him. He took it over to his table. Somebody came over to his table and made him $100 or so on it, went over to the other side of the room, and that guy wound up selling it for more money, and it finally left the room. That was quite a story there, just by itself. But them two coins paid for my trip. And then, back up the story a little bit, when we left Oskaloosa, I was driving that '77 Ford that I had. I think it was a police car at one time, but I bought it through Alan's shop. As I went around Des Moines on the west side to head south down towards Kansas City, a red light came on. Didn't have any water in the radiator. And I pulled off the interstate, got in there, left it running, went in, got antifreeze, and we put it in, calmed the engine down. We made a trip clear to Albuquerque and came back. Now, that was in 1981. In 1983, I was in Colorado Springs getting an oil change, I believe it was there. And the young guy, when we put the oil change, he says, "We'll start up and make sure it's running right." He said he heard a ticking noise. And that was in the summer of '83. He says, "You know, sometime in the past you got that vehicle hot." Now, I drove it from 1981 up to '83. But anyway, at that time, he says, "You know, you could drive it down the street and the engine would shell." But in 1983, on November the 20th, we were in the car coming back from Ames Coin Show, and we just on the west side of Prairie City, and the engine shelled at the bottom of the hill. And we walked up to that house, and you had your grandparents came from, I believe it was either Prairie City there, and they came out and gathered us up, and I had a tow truck, came from Monroe, and we hauled it to Oskaloosa, and that vehicle sat there till the midsummer on the west side, or on the east side of my little house, for about 6 months before I had enough money to put another engine in it. And that was,
now, what was the most expensive coin you've ever sold?
most expensive one is that quarter. The one that Lonnie, or the one that
John
no, the one that
Steinmetz
Tony Evelyn. Well,
sold
he was
to
gone on
Steinmetz.
vacation. A collection of jewelry, and one quarter came out of South Dakota, and anyway, he looked it up on the gray sheet, and it was worth about $40 in AU condition. He didn't pay a whole lot of attention to the date. Anyway, he wound up buying it. Afterwards, he looked at the coin, looked it up in the trends, and it was worth hundreds of dollars at that time. And it was a 18/17S quarter in AU condition. On July 31st that year, I took that coin to Dubuque up there, and 3 people went together, and they paid me $8,000 for that coin. That's probably the most valuable coin I sold at that time. They took it, the customer they was buying it for didn't like that Tony on. They took it in the bathroom and dipped it. and a scratch showed up underneath the surface of that toning, and the customer wouldn't buy it. Anyway, they wrote me a check for $8,000, but the best offer they had was about $6,000. And I told them, I said, I'd tear up that check and you just give me another check. I said I'd be happy with that, but they wouldn't do that. Anyway, they didn't make any money on that coin.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether or not they finally got it sold or what they did, but three people, Bill Bright was involved with it, and there was a couple others, two other people went together to come up with that money.
Steinmetz from Wisconsin.
But, yeah.
Mm.
They went together.
Mike Curran.
Bought that coin off me. And that was Dubuque 31st of that year.
Anything else you want to add about memories of the old coin business?
Oh, I don't know. It's just, but anyway, one of them, and I was in Marshalltown looking at coins in 1960, the day of Roy Springer's funeral, and I found a three-legged buffalo worth maybe $10 or $15. But no, I could go on for hours telling about stories. At the Keokuk show, I've set up over 40 years, and that was years ago. They gave me a plaque for it. I always told people, that, you know, that's the first time I ever got a plaque. But I said I caught a lot of flack over the years from people overcharging them, doing other things with them. Anyway.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add before we close up here?
Oh, I don't know. I just say that's probably good enough.
Okay.
Well, you know, in 1975, I started buying Bill Ott's collection. That was a fantastic collection. And I used to buy like a roll of silver dimes, full set from 16 up in them. But anyway, I wound up buying one of the first weddings I moved was the 50-piece commemoration set. Bahamas wound up buying that he lived in Muscatine.
Wilbur.
Yeah, Wilbur. He paid me about $5,500 for it, and I had to pay Bill Ott. In 1975, he started knowing that he wasn't feeling good. And anyway, he kind of recovered a little bit, but the next year he died. But anyway, I bought a tremendous amount of stuff. All the airs and stuff like that, pennies all the way around the clock. Just a lot of things. I got the Franklin $50. You sold that on your auction, and our quarter planch. Just many different things.
Okay, well, we better wind this one up. Okay, thank you.